Ādi-līlā, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Ādi-līlā, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityānanda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityānanda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityānanda.
If it doesn't work, then you can try yours.
Jaya Gaur Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Ādi-līlā, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Ādi-līlā, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Shri Radha Govinda Dev Ki Jai. So we chant this mantra before Bhagavatam, and today's verse is actually Caitanya-caritāmṛta and referring to the Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So welcome everyone. Hare Krishna. How's your first morning at the Be a Monk Challenge? Good, good. All right. Yes, nice. How many of you are here for the Be a Monk Challenge? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 million. Wow. That's not Brooklyn. 10 million people are here at the Be a Monk Challenge. So we have a good crowd. What are some of your names? Venu? Nice. Will, yes, yes. Exactly. Ivan, where are you from?
It didn't work again, went off, got disconnected.
New York? Uruguay. See, one. And
Until you do it.
Manjula,
Manjula.
Mahita,
Mahita.
I am human.
Archita. And your partner?
Sonia.
Sonia. Wow, cool. Thank you very much. So we are reading Caitanya-caritāmṛta. How many of you have ever read Caitanya-caritāmṛta before? So this is one of our very advanced books, and it's going into very deep philosophy. Before we get in, I'll just say something about, there are 6 things that are very good for our spiritual life. This is described by one of the 6 Goswamis, and he says, Utsaha nishchayataya tat karma pavartana sangatyaga sato vritte sadbhir bhaktir prasidyati. First one he says is enthusiasm. And so Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which is Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, going back 3 generations, he describes that this utsaha is, you're basically fighting against tamas. Tamas means inertia, ignorance. So the material consciousness is apathy towards Krishna. What did Mother Urmila say is the opposite of love yesterday? Anybody remember?
Indifference.
Indifference, yes. Apathy, just whatever. But love is very active. And the soul is actually by nature very active. And so when the soul is enacting his natural propensity, he dances like a conner. So there's this inertia that is there in our legs and our heart and our ears and our mouth. And we just gotta let it go and just dance for Krishna. And then, what did she say yesterday? Anybody heard the class yesterday? We practice those things of love. We practice those things. And they actually become manifest, those things that are already there. Just like a child. Within a child is the nature, the ability to walk. It's natural. How many of you consciously move the various tendons and muscles and pump the blood? Do you do that consciously? Like when you okay, step one, move this toe, move this muscle. No, you just when you walk, you just go naturally. You're not even thinking about it. But in the beginning, there is a little bit of practice, And so in the beginning, another one of the six Goswami is Sanatana Goswami says in the beginning we dance as sadhana, as a matter of, and he says as a matter of duty, just practice to get out of our funk, of our inertia, of our mind. Like we have all these different boroughs in New York City, and we are actually all meant to come together in the Kirtan borough. We're not meant to be in the mind borough and the my worries borough, and the debts and my bills borough. We're all supposed to gather together, and that is called not kirtan, but sankirtan. We get together and just sing and dance. Srila Prabhupada was talking about the direct perception of devotional service, and he gave a lecture and he spoke about dancing 19 times in this lecture. And he was explaining, just like if you eat food, you experience immediately this nourishment that takes place. And if you are sick and you take good medicine, you experience, oh, it's working, I'm starting to feel better. So like this, we enact Caitanya-caritāmṛta. We engage in the activities of devotional service, and it is something that is swatantra. You experience yourself. No one has to tell you, now your hunger is gone away. No, you can't prove to anyone your hunger is gone away, but you can prove it to yourself. You experience it directly. So, we are at Caitanya-caritāmṛta. This is text, chapter, it's Ādi-līlā, chapter 2, text 93. And is that the point? Okay. Ashayatane kahi enava padat, enaver upati hetu se ashayat.
Ashray janite kahi nava padat, enavera utpati hetu se ashayat.
Okay, so we have a few verses here, so we'll just quickly go through them. To know distinctly the ultimate shelter of everything that be. I have described the other nine categories. What is the? It sounds like we're in the middle of something. What's the other 9 categories? The cause for the appearance of these 9 is rightly called their shelter. So this is from the Bhagavatam. It's described that we have our ancient book, Srimad Bhagavatam. You see on display there, 18 volumes. It is 18,000 Sanskrit verses. All right, 18,000. And actually, the way you can measure it is if you count every syllable of the Bhagavatam and you divide it by the number of syllables in the Gayatri Mantra, it becomes exactly 18,000. It's a very, very big book. And the Bhagavatam is part of a genre of literature called the Puranas. And the Puranas are said they all should have, or at least the Mahapurana should have 10 topics that are covered. And so they're saying, they're just referring to the other 9, or this part of the 9 topics. And the main topic, the 10th topic, is the shelter. Krishna Eka Sarvashai, Krishna Sarvadha, Krishna Sharila Sarva Vishvara Vishra.
Krishna eka sarvashraya Krishna sarvadham Krishnera sharire sarva vishvera vishram.
The Supreme Personality of God, Krishna, is the shelter. Oh, okay, so now we know what's the 10th topic. We know the 10th topic. We don't know the other 9, but we know number 10. And the abode of everything, Sarvabham. All the universes, Sarva Vishva, Sarva Vishvera, rest in his body. Text number 95. Dashame dashamam laksham ashritashaya vigraham Shri Krishna kyam param dhama jagat dhama namamita. You guys want to sing that one too?
Dashame dashamam lakshyam Ashitashraya vigraham Shri Krishnakyam parandhama Jagadhama namamita.
Translation. The 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam reveals the 10th subject, the Supreme Personality of God, who is the shelter of all that surrendered souls. He is known as Sri Krishna, and he is the ultimate source of all universes. Let me offer my obeisances unto him. This is a quotation from Sridhar Swami's commentary, the first verse of the 10th canto, chapter 1, Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishnera Sarup Ar Shakti Trayagya Yara Hoye Panranahi Krishne Nete Agya.
Krishnera Swarupara Shakti Trayagnan Yan Rahaya Tanra Nahi Krishneta Gnan.
One who knows the real feature of Krishna is his translation, and his 3 different energies cannot remain ignorant about him. Anybody? 3 energies. Got it?
His internal potency, his external potency, and then his marginal potency.
So Connor said the internal, external, marginal potency. And then how would you describe those things?
The internal potency is Krishna's own, his own power, his own spiritual energy. It's the spiritual world. The external energy is the material world, which is also an emanation from Krishna, but it's made of material energy. And then the marginal potency is the living entity, so the individual spirit soul that's minute compared to Sri Krishna.
Nice. I don't know if the camera can hear that, but he said, Connor answered very nicely. Krishna's internal energy is his own personal energy. It's manifested in the spiritual world. The external energy is this unconscious matter, and then you have the living entities, the marginal, or can take shelter on either side. They can pick where they want to be. Srila Jiva Goswami states in his Bhagavad Sangarbha, this is the purport, 16, that his potencies which act in natural sequence beyond the scope of the speculative human mind, the supreme transcendence, this abode, the eternally and simultaneously exists in 4 transcendental states. His personality, his impersonal effulgence, the particles of his potency, and the principal cause of all causes. So 4 that are listed there, and they're going to give a nice little analogy to help. The supreme whole is compared to the sun, which also exists in 4 features. This personality of the sun god, the glare of the glowing sphere, the sun rays inside the sun planet, and the sun's reflection in many other objects. It's a long purport, so everyone gear in, lock in. Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he tells Arjuna, Arjuna is sitting right there. But what does he say? Touch Srinu. He says, many times he's encouraging Arjuna's attention because that's where the knowledge is shared, is when the consciousness is connecting them. One can hear, you can be in a big noisy room, and you might not know what people are talking about. As soon as you put your concentrated attention, you can, they're talking about this, eavesdropping. So we want to eavesdrop on the beautiful katha, pastimes that we hear between Krishna and his great devotees. The ambition to corroborate the existence of the transcendental absolute truth by limited conjectural endeavors cannot be fulfilled. Big sentence. So we cannot understand God by guesswork. Like, what is your name again? Mahita. What's happening in Japan right now? Right now, tell us. But maybe you can use conjectural endeavors. You can just guess. Will that help? No, it doesn't help. And that's only Japan. That's not Goloka Vrindavan, the spiritual Vaikuntha. So you can't understand God and what's beyond this world by just the guesswork and logic. We can only have, we'll create conclusions and counter-conclusions that are all in the box of our mind. We basically have three forms of evidence, and they each have their place. Who knows what is the first one that's in the list? What is the first one?
Shastra.
Pratyaksha. Pratyaksha. And Anuman is the second, and then Shabda, Sastra, is the third. So Pratyaksha means what you perceive. And as we mentioned earlier, Prabhupada was talking about spiritual Pratyaksha in the effect of engaging in devotional service. How do you know Krishna is real? How do you know all this stuff is real? Pratyaksha, you can experience it. Then Anuman means logic. The logic always, it follows Pratyaksha, meaning like if you see something consistently, then you may come to some kind of logic to conclude, like, okay, every time I come to this restaurant, the people who work there all have red hair. And so your logic is only red hair people can work here. And that might be a faulty form of logic, right? It's only depending on how many things you have seen. So it starts off with your perception, and then you come up with conclusions. Somebody might say, I only believe what I see, but nobody thinks that way, because then how big is the sun? You employ logic. You know? But these two things fail to help us to find something that is beyond our perception. Like if you want to know what's happening in Japan, you can't get on the roof of the telescope and then come up with logical conclusions. You must get a line of information. That is called deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning is someone gives you the what is it called? Not the conclusion, but there's observation, hypothesis, and basically, they give you the conclusion, and then you examine that with logic and observation, versus starting with hypothesis and then starting with observation, hypothesis, and experimentation, and then conclusion. Someone presents information to you, and then you apply the experiment, and you observe and see what is the experience. So that is called deductive reasoning. Because he's beyond the scope of our limited speculative minds. In an honest search for truth, we must admit that his powers are inconceivable for our tiny brains. The exploration of space has demanded the work of the greatest scientists of the world. Yet there are countless problems regarding even fundamental knowledge of material creation that bewilder scientists who confront them. So the scientists say, okay, we have to study life. So how do we study life? Biology. Biology. And then we study biology. And then when biology is, no. If we want to understand biology, then we have to understand chemistry. There's a chemist saying, okay, we got chemistry. And the chemists, they said, no, we have to understand molecular biology. We have to understand physics. It's physics. And you go, and the physicists, they go and study deeper. And the physics say, no, quantum physics. There is an observer, and it affects matter. So they go back to life. They said we're gonna study life using biology, then chemistry, then what was it next? Physics, molecular biology, physics, and then quantum physics. And then the quantum physicist says, no, we can't understand it through any of these speeds because there's life, and we can only understand life through life. These limited conjectural endeavors cannot be fulfilled. They cannot actually reveal. Such material knowledge, purport continued, is far removed from the spiritual nature, and therefore acts and arrangements of the absolute truth are beyond all doubts inconceivable. The primary potencies of the absolute truth are mentioned as internal, external, and marginal. By the acts of his internal potency, the personality of God in his original form exhibits spiritual cosmic manifestation known as the Vaikuntha Lokas, which exists eternally. This is what Connor was saying. And even after the destruction of its cosmic manifestation. By his marginal potency, the Lord expands himself among the living beings who are part of him, just as the sun distributes its rays in all directions. The external potency of the Lord manifests as the material creation, just as the sun with its rays creates fog. So what creates the fog in the morning? It's the power of the sun. But it obscures the sun. And also the sun removes the fog. Altogether, all coming from the effect of the sun. The material creation is but a perverse reflection of the eternal Vaikuntha nature. It is a long purport, so lock it in. These three energies of the absolute truth are also described in the Vishnu Purana, where it is said that the living being is equal in quality to the internal potency, whereas the external potency is indirectly controlled by the chief cause of all causes. Maya, the illusory energy, misleads a living being, as a fog misleads a pedestrian by blocking off the light of the sun. Although the potency of Maya is inferior in quality to the marginal potency, which consists of living beings who are part and parcel of the Lord, it nevertheless has the power to control the living beings, just as a fog can block the actions of a certain portion of the sun's rays, although it can't actually cover the sun. So here, the external energy, this dead matter, is said to be controlling something that is superior to it. So how does that work? If the living entities are qualitatively one, as it says, to the internal energy, they're superior, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7. What is that? Text number 5. He says that he is Paraprakriti, is superior energy. How is the inferior thing controlling the superior thing? The easiest way is to find that thing in your pocket. And you'll see how the inferior thing is controlling the superior thing. What is that thing in your pocket? It is your phone, yes. It is dead, dull matter. But what is it doing? It's controlling you. It is empowered by various companies to control you. So if you have a free app, you're the product. They're selling your information, selling your likes and dislikes, and then you find yourself, oh, I want to buy this. I want to go here. I want to do that. But no, the thing made you wanted to do that. That's how it's been working. That's why it's the app. Why there are thousands of millions of dollars in the app. Because you are being the product that has been pushed towards purchasing and buying all kinds of things through the algorithms that are there. So you have the inferior conscious, unconscious vote, but it is, although it is inferior to you, a conscious entity that is controlling you. So that's the analogy of this external energy controlling the jiva. Purport continued. The living entity beings being covered by the illusory energy evolve into different species of life, with bodies ranging from that of an insignificant ant to that of Brahma, the constructor of the cosmos. The Pradhana, The chief cause of all causes in the impersonal vision is none other than the Supreme Lord, with whom one can see face to face in the internal potency. He takes the material, all-pervasive form by his inconceivable power. Although these three potencies, namely the internal, external, and marginal, are essentially one in ultimate issue, they are different in action, just like electric energy, which can produce both cold and heat in different conditions. So Srila Prabhupada uses this analogy in other places, is heat and cold. Does anybody know where is Prabhupada uses electric, heat, and cold analogy? In the Bhagavatam lecture he mentions it. He's describing the deity worship. The 10 topics of the Srimad Bhagavatam, as I mentioned, the other 9. First one is Sarga, creation, Visarga, you have the creation of the elements, and then you have the secondary creation by Brahma. You have, what else is there? Sthana, which is the geography of the universe, how the entities are placed in the universe. You have Poshana, the protection of the devotees, Uti, the urge of creation, inclination. You have what is called the Manvantaras. You have the pastimes of the Lord. You have destruction of the universe. You have liberation, and then the Ashraya, find the full and complete shelter. And so the reason why the Bhagavatam starts off with creation is you can't meditate on things that are not, you haven't seen, that are not already in your mind. And so you see this world, and how do we see this world? It's like a child who enters a candy shop, and there's nobody in the shop, and he thinks, it's all for me. It's all for me. And he just looks around, oh, that's mine. That's mine. Oh, this is mine. And he just thinks everything is for himself. There is a word that is used in our literature, in the Vedanta, Bhagavatam, in many places, to indicate what is illusion. Is anybody, it's not Maya, there's a word that is often used, and that is called Dvaita, duality. So why does duality mean illusion? So when the child is entering the shop, he's seeing things separate from the shop owner. So when we enter this world, we see things separate from Krishna. That's the duality. We do not see the union of everything. And so this Dvaita is simple examples. If you see a wallet on the ground, and with Dvaita, with duality, without seeing the union with the wallet, with its owner, you have two opportunities. One opportunity, exploitation. You take the wallet and you use it, you start using its credit card, you start buying all kinds of things. Or a second option is between not seeing the connection between the owner and the wallet is neglect. Like apathy, I don't care. Who cares? You're not seeing the connection between that wallet and its owner. So that's called Dvaita, duality. When you start to see the connection between the owner and the object, then you're beginning to see the actual picture. And then you're starting to see the spiritual vision where you see this world and its connection to its owner. And so this analogy is very helpful to understand how do we deal with the idea of renunciation, giving things up. We can only give things up. Oftentimes we give things up. It comes with the ego that it was mine. It's my thing to give up. But when we see actually everything is Krishna's, then we can only figure out what can I give up that is contrary to my connection to Krishna. Like if I'm wonderful at playing guitar, then should I be giving it up because, it affects my ego? No. Rather, I should understand its union with Krishna. I use my guitar to raise the consciousness of people. So that's renunciation. Materialism is not the object, but the Dvaita, seeing things separate from its owner. Does that make sense? Yeah? So where are we? So Prabhupada, he describes that the deity form, so we're trying to move because we can't see the spiritually. We in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, it describes all these elements and how they're related to God. How the earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, the senses of perception, the senses of action, the objects of perception, all these things in this universe, we start to connect that with the Supreme. And then we can actually meditate. So that is the first part of the Bhagavatam begins with the universal form, things like that, to help us connect what we see in this world. But another way we can actually see and meditate on the Lord is His deity form. But apparently it seems like, isn't that the same kind of matter that we see everywhere? As Srila Prabhupada explains, that Krishna's energy, He can adjust His energy. An electrical engineer, he knows how to build a refrigerator and a stove. And these two things produce different results. One is cooling, one is heating. But the electrical engineer, he knows how to do that. He knows how to make opposite results with one energy. So similarly, Krishna can turn matter into spirit. And so that is the deity form. Just like the post office can turn a box into a post office. They just have to say, this box is authorized by the U.S. Postal System. And now that box works as a post office. You can put your mail there and it gets to its destination. Our Chase Bank can turn a little computer with a little slot into a bank. If Connor has his, Connor's bank, he puts a little, slot there. Throw your money here, I promise it will enter your bank account. Maybe somebody will do it, maybe not. But if it's authorized by the banking system, by the postal system, then it works like the full thing. So Krishna is saying, I will appear I will transform matter into spirit. And therefore you can apprentice the things you do in the spiritual world. What do people do in the spiritual world? Krishna.
Krishna.
How? Does anybody cook for Krishna? Huh? Ryan, what do they do in the spiritual world?
Worship Krishna, sing Krishna, dance Krishna.
Okay, so that when you have the deity form, you're apprenticing all those activities. You're practicing. As we said, the baby is walking, practicing walking, and it becomes natural, soon he is running. So we're apprenticing those activities. So the deity form, Prabhupada explains, just like the electrical engineer, Krishna can turn his matter into spirit. He says, if you make a form that is according to my description, not something that is concocted. As we said, you can't understand God earlier by concoction. Like the Ten Commandments in Christianity, they're against this idea of a concocted idol of God. And we are also against that idea. That one cannot concoct and just imagine some form of God and then begin to worship. Therefore, Krishna says, if you make a deity form according to how I described in Scripture, worship me by the proper procedures and devotion, I will be there to accept. Therefore, that's why we're singing, we're looking towards a deity with great veneration, awe, and love. Here's the last part of the purport. The external.
Yes, no, from there.
What, right?
Start from there.
The external and marginal potencies are so called under various conditions, but the eventual internal potency, there are no such conditions, nor is it possible for the conditions of external energy to exist in the marginal, or vice versa. One who is able to understand the intricacies of all these energies of the Supreme Lord can no longer remain an empiric, impersonalist, under the influence of poor fun of knowledge. So in this section of the Bhagavatam that they're referring to, they describe three men, three people. And they describe that these three people are dependent on each other. And in contrast to these three, there's a fourth who is what is the word? Svashaya, the shelter, the complete shelter, the shelter of those who are sheltered. So these three people are called the Ādi-ātmaka-purusha, the Ādi-daivaka-purusha, and the Ādi-bhautaka-purusha. So a little analogy, a very simple analogy. My kids do not like when I turn off the internet. It's like they want to get up in the morning, watch, just be on the internet all day long until as long as possible. So we do turn off the internet. I say, we'll turn it on. You guys go outside, read some books, things like that. You know what I mean? So the TV is there, but it doesn't do anything without the internet. So these three people, three persons, the Ādi-ātmaka-purusha, the Ādi-daivaka-purusha, and Ādi-bhautaka-purusha. This is a Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto. This canto is discussing these 10 subjects, the same chapter. This is the jiva. The first one is the soul. The second one are the demigods, who are actually making the function of the senses possible. And the third, Purusha, is called the physical body. And these are all dependent on each other. So for example, if you have a TV, and the TV is the physical body, the soul is the one watching the TV, but if the internet is off, if there's no devas, then there's no perception. So the person doesn't perceive anything. There's no object. And then also, the devas, if there is no body, say you have no TV, but you have internet, and a person ready to watch TV, then the devas have no meaning. Because who are you the boss of? Who are you the lord of if you actually have no... the internet is supposed to express itself in the TV, but it doesn't have a TV, it doesn't have any actual function. So we read a little purport from Tattva Sandarbha by Jiva Goswami. There are innumerable living entities, one dependent on the other in relationship of controller and controlled. But without the medium of perception, no one can know or understand who's controlled or controller. For example, the sun controls our power of vision. So how do you see without the sun? It's not possible. You're dependent on the sun to see. We can see the sun because the sun has its body. And sunlight is useful only because we have eyes. So even the sunlight, if there's light, it's only useful if there's perception. Again, this dependency is there. Without our having eyes, the sunlight is useless. Without sunlight, our eyes are useless. They're interdependent. None of them is independent. So the natural question concerning is, who made this? Who made it like this interdependency? So without a body, the soul is in this world because he wants to enjoy the temporary material energy. Without a body, you cannot do that. And without a body, they have two different jivas. You have the jiva who's in the human body and the jiva that's in the demigod body. And the jiva who's in the demigod body has nothing to rule. No role of a deva, no meaning or expression there's no meaning or any kind of expression without a mortal body. So none of these are considered really a shelter. Let's see. So there's a third who sees without any assistance, and that is the Supreme Being. Is in the Gita, Upadrashna Mantacha. He's seeing everything He's witnessing. He's in the heart of everyone. He's witnessing everything. And therefore he's described his complete shelter. The soul, the demigods, the material energy, the body, all these things have their dependencies. But Krishna is fully independent. Swarat. Okay, so here I'll say, for example, if you think that the body is the shelter, then you become what is called a materialist. Material thinking. If you think that the Ādi-līlā person, the devas are the shelter, then you could become what is called a karmi, and you engage in religious acts just to get material things. And it's very also limited scope of perception, limited scope of broad spiritual vision. If you think the soul is the shelter, then you become an impersonalist. So the highest shelter is actually Krishna. This is this understanding. Little commentary similar to what we heard earlier. In the transcendental realm of Vaikuntha, every living thing is always joyful, free from any limits and defects. In that realm, moreover, the all-powerful, all-blissful personality of God is ever present to everyone, sharing various loving exchanges with his devotees. In Vaikuntha, there's no need for the contrived arrangements that allow embodied souls to pursue exploitation of matter, arrangements that must be constantly maintained by regulating demigods. Material life is extremely complicated, as we hear here, the three persons. As modern biochemists have discovered, for example, the unconscious and seemingly effortless process of digesting a meal involves hundreds of chemical reactions with hundreds of different enzymes and long chains and cycles and intermediate byproducts. All this needed to be orchestrated to a fine precision for digestion to succeed. So you're not consciously digesting your food. It is being arranged for you. Krishna says, what is this? Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text 13. Ham Vaishnava Rupa Pranam Devashna Pranapana Sayanta Pachanam Chaturvidam. So Krishna is actually arranging our digestion. We might think we're independent, but what if Krishna turns off your digestion? You're like, I'm a survivalist, I've got my bunker, I don't need the sun, the moon, fire, electricity. He said, I'll turn off your digestion. Try that. There was once a politician. He was so unhealthy that they gave him poison. There was an assassination attempt. And they gave him poison, and he survived because he was so unhealthy. Because he didn't digest it. So this is Krishna. He's the supreme controller. He's behind everything. He is the supreme shelter. That's a few different points here. So I will stop here and say there. What are your questions and what are your takeaways? What are your reflections? What are you going to take home today? And so we will start on this side of the room. What will you take home today with you?
I understood
Are there any questions?
Krishna.
Three energies?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you elaborate them more? Like one energy is with us in the spirit, and the second one is in the material world.
So one of the energy is you. That's like the rays of sun. Is described in the analogy of the sun. The sun personality of Godhead, the sun glow, the sun the energy, and that which reflects on the reflection of the sun on other objects. So you are that marginal potency. Then so you have what is called power and powerhouse. Shakti and Shaktiman. So Krishna is the powerhouse, and then he has his energies. And so the spiritual world is his energy. his pastimes of the spiritual world are manifestations of his, the whole abode, those are all his chitta shakti. And then this material one is Maya Shakti. Actually, we love to hear the pastimes of Krishna. We always try and hear it in connection, like we don't just study the 10th canto, we study the earlier chapters, because it says as long as we are lying in the lap of material enjoyment, we should focus on the Lord who lies on the Ananta Shesh, material ocean. We understand Krishna's connection to the external energy, and it helps us go deeper to understanding Krishna's relationship to his internal energy, his relationship to Srimati Radharani and the gopis and all those things. Does that help?
I really like the thing that you said. Once you understand Krishna, you can never ignore him.
Oh yes, I didn't say that. That was
That was
purport. Yes, I repeated that. Okay.
I really like the analogy of how the sun is the cause of the fog, and the sun is also the one that dispels the fog, just like...
And the sun's not even covered by the fog. He's not affected by the fog, but it makes the fog, makes it go away.
Right, in our perception. That was my...
Thank you.
I really like the point on how the idol is
Deity.
deity.
Actually, the word idol, it's used, it was brought to India, but the word idol has kind of a negative term to it. Idolatry, it's like, so we always use it for deity or deity. But,
So the deity is how we are connecting to Krishna, and now we are, it's Krishna's energy in material world as well. So I really like this thing, the deities.
yeah, there's certain words that we use that come, the English words, that, like for example, oftentimes people use the word mythology for Mahabharata. And myth has a connotation of something that is false or made up. It can just mean stories, but it also has that connotation. But oftentimes you find people in India using this word, and Christians would never say Christian mythology. They would never say the mythology of Jesus. No, that's fact. Mahabharata. So we're careful with our words because they have some connotation. They've kind of inserted those words into the Indian language. No, yeah, tell us something. Tell them. What will you take home today?
Still processing.
Still processing. Any questions?
None in particular in reference to your speech.
Okay. I think we have time for any question. You know, throw a question there.
So something I was discussing earlier was the second-hand information that we're getting. For example, when someone first learns, I guess the question is how to distinguish and confirm second-hand information. Like, for someone new to Krishna consciousness, I'm hearing about the Bhagavad Gita, all the books, and it's kind of like learning something brand new for the first time. Like, the thing we ultimately all want is to authenticate something, to know. So, because they go back so far, thousands of years, how do I know something wasn't altered? How do I
Actually, your
authenticate?
question is not disconnected to our talk here. It's very related. So, you ever caught the subway in New York City?
Caught?
Like, you ever been on the subway?
Yes.
Yes.
Half my life.
So, if your previously wasn't through the phone, maybe you saw the map there, or then or the phone tells you. Now, the second-hand information is if you haven't been on that particular route, then you're taking second-hand information by looking at that map. And first, you approach the map and say, wait, does this actually make any sense? Is it logical? Like if I give a map drawn by a 5-year-old and say, hey, this is the new MTA map here. Just, you catch this train, it takes you here and there. You might not actually have trust and faith to even engage with it. So one of the first steps is, or first words that are given in different steps is called Shraddha. And Shraddha, Prabhupada, our Acharya, he actually translates this world. Sometimes he uses the word faith, but he translates it in a very gentle way. He often says curiosity, or kind of just like an investigative willingness to participate. So you see the map and okay, this seems to make sense. Let me check this out. Does this seem to work? So like we said, the conclusion is given, the map. And then you look at the map and see, well, does this actually make sense? And if it does make sense, then you may actually get engaged with it. You may actually catch a train. Now, if the train says, this takes you from West 4th to Canal Street to Fulton Street, this the A and C train, and then it goes to High Street, then Borough Hall, then to J Street Metrotech, and then finally to Hoyt Skimmerhorn. And if you're not yet at Hoyt Skimmerhorn, you see, wait a minute, it said it would take me to Fulton Street. It is taking me to Fulton Street. It said it was going to take me to Canal Street. It took me to Canal Street. It said it was going to take me to High Street. It's taking me to High Street. It said it's going to take me to Borough Hall. It took me to Borough Hall. It said it was going to take me to J Street Metrotech. It took me to J Street Metrotech. That experience is not something you would say call faith. It goes beyond faith. It is what is called pratyaksha. You're directly experiencing it yourself. So, just like we asked, your name here? Mahina, how do you know what's happening in Japan? You have to get a line of information from Japan. But when you start engaging with that information and it starts producing real experiential results, then it's no longer faith, it's something you're directly perceiving. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So that was very much in relation to the talk, because we covered that. Yes? Uruguay.
Yes, I have only one question. This is for a word, it's called like surrender. What's the significance of that here in this place? Because for me, like accept and surrender, but I think that have a purpose for what means surrender.
So surrender, it is not in the kind of military sense, like where you have a white flag. Like, I give up my sense of independent, thoughtful thinking. I'm just out of fear, backing off. But surrender is it's like a full engagement. My mind, my senses, I'm giving everything. It's all for you. Everything is for you. My words, my BMW, my body, mind and words. Okay, I'm going to line them all up. I'm going to engage my legs in walking and dancing, walking to the temple and dancing. I'm engaged my tongue and glorify the Lord and tasting food that is offered to the Lord. So this is surrender. I'm going to constantly engage. Actually, they describe 6 symptoms of surrender. Anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjana, rakshasi vishvasho, bhuktitve varnam tata, saranagati. I think I missed one line. So the first one is accepting things that are good for your spiritual life. And the second one is rejecting things that are unfavorable.
You say something interesting is like accepting, not surrender. That's because for me, when I hear that too, like surrender and accepting, it feels different. Like surrender is like you say like a white flag, like I surrender everything.
So accepting means like For example, chanting the holy name is good for your spiritual life. Eating prasad, associating with devotees, those are things that are good for you. So you accept those things, you bring those things into your life. And then smoking marijuana, we reject those things. Associating with people who don't have any kind of vision. Like, I'm going to find people that have good vision, who have good intentions. We reject those things. I'm going to reject activities that are not helpful for my spiritual life. So these there are 6 different effects of 6 different symptoms of surrender. Goptritve varanam tata. So I see Krishna as my protector, and I also see Krishna as my provider, and everything I need, I understand that it will all come from Him, not from anything else. So I don't unnecessarily put too much mental energy in like trying to manage the whole universe. I just do my part and leave the rest to Him.
Like surrender means like surrender the control of the things.
And basically it's like coming to reality that we are actually not in control. And let me see if I can find the actual verse. 6. Okay, here I found the full verse. Anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjanam rakshasiti vishvaso guptitve varnam tata atmanikshepa karpanye sadvila sharanagati. The 6 divisions of surrender are accepting those things favorable devotional service and rejection of unfavorable things. Number 3, the conviction that Krishna will give protection. Number 4, the acceptance of the Lord as one's guardian and master. Full self-surrender and humility. And there are some really elaborate essays and books about these 6 that one can look into. But that's just an overview of it. I think we're a little bit over time. Everybody, time for breakfast, and then it's time to lots more activities during the day. So, any last comments or questions? Om Tat Sat, thanks a lot. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Nityānanda-candra ki jai.